Hey everybody, welcome to Marvel Monday. I'm your host, Surprise. Here we are, 11 days away from Endgame, and things are heating up on the list as well. Many different movies here, from Fox to MCU and even before those. I'm having fun making the list, and I hope you're enjoying listening and joining me for this. Also, thank you for this year-long journey. Now that I have better equipment, I can start making these on more of a schedule, and I'm hoping soon to expand upon what I can do due to my availability. Thank you all for your support, and I hope you enjoy the next 10 entries in the list. Number 30, Iron Man 2. Black Widow was the best part of this, and Pepper is always too. Gwyneth Paltrow has been a magnificent Pepper Potts in my opinion. Sam Rockwell was a good Hammer, but I wish he would have come back, even if just a side villain. Maybe in Iron Man 3 or the second Avengers somehow. He could have been selling to Hydra or something. Anyway, this movie was flawed, but was still very enjoyable. Whiplash didn't hit the mark with many, myself included. He wasn't terrible, but wasn't great either. I liked Don Cheadle as War Machine James Rhodes. It was a little awkward, but not as bad as how unbelievable Terrence Howard was as being his friend. Number 29, Thor. I put Thor high on this list because I cared nothing for the character before seeing this movie. I'll never get over seeing Asgard for the first time on the big screen. It was glorious. We all know Tom Hiddleston now, but this movie made him a household name, and with good reason. He was fantastic in this. This was possibly Chris Hemsworth's worst performance of the entire MCU, but he was still good enough to be known as Thor forever to all of Marvel fandom. Who is Chris Hemsworth? He was Thor. Oh, right. See, you're just going to know him as Thor from now on. Anthony Hopkins kills it as Odin, as he always does, and Rene Russo is such a great Frigga. The movie had a few blah moments, but other than those, it was a really good movie, plus the Hawkeye cameo introduction. Number 28, Ant-Man and the Wasp. This movie felt like a sequel. I loved getting live-action Wasp though. Ghost was a really cool villain, and the Goliath cameo was a fun nod. This was one of those times where some of the best moments were in the trailer, unfortunately, but I still really liked this movie. The movies are getting much better now, and it isn't easy having it this low, but this is where it landed. Tell me what you think. Do you think I have Ant-Man and the Wasp ranked too low? Do you think it's better than number 28, about midway through the list? I think this is about right for it, but it was really good. Like I said, all the movies now are good. Number 27, Blade. The first Blade movie is probably the best Blade, and it's the very first Marvel movie to take it seriously and get it right. This was a great movie, with a great cast. I've always enjoyed Stephen Dorff and Donald Logue, and Chris Christopherson was great. This was the highest rated of the three movies on IMDb. I go by that, not Rotten Tomatoes, and I had a feeling it was most people's favorite, but not mine. More on that later. Number 26, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This movie was so much fun to watch. Not the greatest movie and definitely a sequel, but still one of the better pure sequels we've gotten out of the entire MCU. Not the best, but one of the better ones. Many memorable moments as the movie went on, from Yondu being Mary Poppins to Baby Groot. I know the MCU Mantis isn't like her comic book counterpart, but I like her. Many of the Guardians are quite different from the comics, honestly, especially Drax. I love how funny he is, but I do wish they'd do more with him than make him funny. He's shown no reason why they call him the Destroyer since the people were scared of him in the jail in the first one. That's always been my one gripe about these movies is the way they've used Drax. Gamora to an extent too, as she is called the fiercest one in the galaxy but hasn't done much beyond fighting with Nebula. Still, this was a fun movie to watch. Number 25, Age of Ultron. Yet another sequel, this one to the first team-up movie, The Avengers. This was on the heels of many of the sequels that made up Phase 2, and Phase 2 is arguably the worst up to this point. But I really liked this movie. Wanda and Pietro were phenomenal. The Hulkbuster scene was one of the best fight scenes in the entire history of comic movies. Vision had his power pinnacle, and we hadn't even mentioned Ultron yet. Watching Chris Evans tear a log in half is something the world didn't know it needed until it happened, but oh how it did. I loved this movie. What about you? Did you love it too? Number 24, Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok was one of the most different comic book movies. It could have not worked at all, but I'm glad they tried it, and I'm glad it worked as well as it did. I know it's not everyone's favorite, but there's no denying they needed to do something different with the character, and oh boy did they ever. The tone is so different. The story told is one of the best stories they've ever told, and it tied to the cosmic part of the MCU with the grounded part so well. Number 23, X-Men First Class. This was a necessary change in the X-Men franchise. The two movies prior to this one were pretty bad, especially in the opinions of the many. I liked most of the casting in this, even Jennifer Lawrence at the time was good in this. It was after this movie that she just wasn't quite as good as Mystique. I loved Kevin Bacon in this. Nobody liked January Jones as Emma Frost, but Azazel was pretty awesome. It was a very fun movie to me, and I'm glad they made it. Number 22, Blade Trinity. This was the lowest rated Blade film on IMDb, but I loved it. Yes, Ryan Reynolds was basically Deadpool in this, but this was before Deadpool. This movie made me laugh, it had good action, and it had Blade being Blade, but with the other two around him. It's one of my favorites, so I have it ranked much higher than most would. In fact, it's ranked the highest of the Blade films in my list. Number 21, Captain Marvel. I hate having this movie ranked as low as it is, but the movies from here on out are so good that this just ended up finishing out the list today. It almost cracked the top 20, but just missed it. I haven't spoken about this movie in a list, but I did do a review of it after it came out in early March of this year. Brie Larson was very good as Carol Danvers to me. The most fury we've gotten since Winter Soldier. The return of Coulson to the MCU big screen. We got Kree, we got Skrulls, we got binary power. I'm excited to buy this and watch it over and over again. And the soundtrack was awesome to me. The action was good, the CGI was spectacular, and all the fun in between. So there you have it, my favorite movies that just missed the top 20. Join us next week when half of those top 20 are revealed. We'll cover that and the last few days before Endgame. Thanks again, and until next time,
have a good one.